I have very varying views on guns to what he does, so I just don't bring it up because I really like the guy. So I don't, it's like certain times when you meet people who are very religious, I try not to bring up atheism in front of them. I just, live and let live for the most part. I am the type of person who does get into arguments, but I don't want to really start them, especially at work.
Especially if you like and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, I get that me being anti-gun in America really rubs people up the wrong way because of the accent as well. Because you don't know the history. Yeah, you don't know what it's like. Why don't you go home? That little thing. And as soon as you bring up gun control worked in Australia. We have statistics that there was a moment we had guns, we stopped it. We haven't had a massacre since. Australia's a good little test model that you can work off because we got rid of them in 1994 or 3 or something after the Port Arthur massacre. And then they go, well, you don't understand, this is a different thing. This country is built on, and then they just say a lot of stuff. And I know they get angry, and I've lost a few fans over it. I don't know if I've gained any fans from it, but
I think it's so woven into the fabric of the Constitution.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.
But also slavery was, that was in the Constitution.
No, that was in it as a compromise.
Right.
This was unanimous, like, number 2, everyone gets a gun.
Yeah, true.
First, you can say what you want. Number 2, you can shoot what you want.
It's still called an amendment, and the word means to change.
Listen, you don't find me arguing with that's for sure, but I just think it's so woven. I think I love the idea of common sense.
My argument that I give is I don't mind as long as you just say to me, I really like guns. Don't give me the bullshit I have them for protection because there's so many statistics that said it just doesn't work as home protection. It just doesn't work, right? You're more likely to be shot. And then you have these people who go, I keep them locked up in a safe. Then there's no protection. As someone who had a machete held to my head, you can't just go, wait there, fuckface, and you go over and you do the combination. And then you got Oscar Pistorius, which I know is in a different country altogether, right? There's mistakes are made. Although I think he did it, but he's using the defense of a mistake now as why did that girl lock the bathroom door? If she was why would you have to shoot through the door if it's a break-in? Why would someone break in and go, all I want to do is steal soap and towels? I'm just
and some shampoo.
Yeah, I'm just bathroom based in my criminal activity.
No, and listen, the whole issue of suicide and self-inflicted gun wounds are not even discussed yet, and that's bigger than anything.
It's also that then sometimes they use things like they go, well, there was a break-in and there was a woman and she was she locked her and her kids into the wardrobe.
Oh yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, and then boom, problem solved. Really? Because we don't know, first of all, if that person was going to kill anyone. There's probably just a break-in. They probably weren't murderers. Most people aren't murderers. But most people are just junkies who want something, right? Mm-hmm. And second of all, is problem solved? I'd like to see the psychiatric report for those children in a few years when they've just watched their mother blow someone's brains out. I don't know. I just know that it's very hard to get rid of guns, but I also know that a gun-free society is probably mentally and physically in better check than one that has guns, in my opinion. But it's in Australia. The big difference was when you know about Port Arthur.
I've heard it referenced. I don't know what happened. It
was a huge massacre where a guy who was what we would call you call him a simpleton. He was a low IQ man. He went out with a shotgun. I think it was a rifle, actually. I'm not sure. But he killed over 30 people in a picnicking area. They were all out on blankets, and he just ran over the hill and just. And then it was at that stage the biggest massacre in the world, or something like that. And they brought this is when the conspiracy theories come in because the laws were changed 2 weeks later, and people say, "Oh well, how could this guy who was simple shoot so many people?" I believe he did it. But the thing is, they caught the guy. He's now in prison and all that type of stuff. But the big thing was, I remember it distinctly happening. The Australian government said no more guns, and the Australian public, as unison, went, "Yeah, all right." There was not a fight, and that's the big difference.
Yeah.
That's the huge difference because there was gun sales didn't go up. People didn't start stockpiling them and stuff like that. People didn't get ready as a militia to fight against a tyrannical government and then blah, 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 blah. And, Australia's a country where people don't have bomb shelters and waiting for Armageddon, and I don't know.
What's your perception of this country generally? Put guns aside.
I think it's a great country. I for the most part, I love America. I think America does let you be who you want to be for the most part, and that's
different than Australia.
Different from Australia in the sense that and this is purely not Australia's fault, that a huge population allows you to express yourself and find commonality between you and other, if you know what I mean. Australia's very...
The diversity encourages diversity.
Australia's a lot more one note for me than America
more homogeneous,
is. Yeah, and not their fault. It's just a small sample of people, but multicultural-wise, Australia's great. The racism and all that type of stuff is I would say on a par as America. It's no worse or no better or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that America, for me and my comedy, I only need to tap 1% of this population to be a huge success. And I can't tap 1% of the Australian population to become a huge success. I think the religious thing in this country, I find it very bizarre that people could say, oh, I believe in God, and not have the realization that because you grew up in a certain bit of this country, there's a much more bigger likelihood that you're going to believe in a certain type of God, like if you're a Mormon or something in Utah. Like, doesn't that seem bizarre? Can't you see that it's just a birthright? It's nothing more. It's the same. We vote the same as our parents for the first couple of elections of our lives before we make our own decisions, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I voted for the same people my father voted for because he always told me they were the good guys.
Was that very conservative?
Yeah.
Yeah.